You know, most of my life I've worked with the poor. You know, and that's what we do. You wouldn't know it by this place, but
Brother Regan up here at the retreat, and he's been nice enough. He's going to tell us a bit of his story.
you know, these networks as they grow, I see them as being not just useful to recovery, but also establishing new kinds of friendships. I'm thinking about this today when I'm thinking about family, because I still haven't included, I don't really have a lot of family left. Most of my family has died from alcohol. And I had a relatively large family, so including cousins and all kinds of things. But my own brothers and sisters, almost all of them are dead. And my mother died from alcohol. So the little family I have left, I haven't really yet included in my recovery. Yeah. I mean, this is my family.
Right.
These brothers, I mean, I've been a brother for 35 years, so
I was going to ask that.
my whole life our lives are very intertwined, you know. And I grew up in an alcoholic home, so it was absolute chaos all the time, although we lived in a very upscale neighborhood, and we went to private schools, but I used to liken our house to like a movie set. So it was beautiful on the outside, but if you tilted it a little bit, there was nothing behind there. So the most of my youth was spent getting away from it. I hid from it, and I hid in my books and found ways to be away from the house. And the teachers at school were very good, so I spent a lot of time at school trying to stay away from the house, you know. But in terms of my own use of alcohol, it just started creeping up, you know. We drank, and then we drank too much, and then it started out as being one day on the weekend. It started to be 2 days on the weekend, and it started to be 4 days, you know, which was a very long weekend. A lot of my life, for sure, but mine and my friends really started revolving around alcohol and anything else we could get our hands on. Any kind of drugs, you know, we weren't picky. You know, we weren't picky. And it was a very social thing in the sense that I was running around with a group of guys, and that's what we did. I had a younger brother who has since gone also, but he and I, we were best friends, and we used to run around town together with our other friends. And it did get to the point sometimes where we'd go into a place and we could tell the bartenders would look at each other like. So that continued for years and years and years. Now, I was living in a rural place, so I was assigned to work with younger guys coming into the order, and so they had us out in the middle of nowhere. We were at a little mission, California mission, out in the middle of nowhere, and that's when I started really noticing that I was losing control over the whole thing. So I would say that's been about 10 years. No, I'd lost control before that, but I just didn't admit it. And then more recently, I would say, so I was in Santa Barbara, and we're pretty progressive, our group, and we have an alcohol intervention committee. So I was drinking a lot, but mostly privately, in my room. You know, you can't hide stuff like that. This group came up to me, the representatives of this group, two brothers, and they're in recovery themselves, came up to me and said, no. And they said, we'd like you to go to treatment. And I said, no. I can handle it myself. Of course, now I've been trying to, previous 5 years before that, I've been trying to handle it myself, you know, looking up on the internet and getting books on it, and, you know, whatever. So they said, oh, okay. All right, fine. So that went on for about another 6 months. And of course, dummy me, I just kept drinking. You know, I didn't use it as like, okay, I'm on the radar here. I just tried to hide it more. Well, I didn't hide it. So they approached me again. And they said, okay, here's the deal. You're dying in front of us. And that's not going to happen. So you either go to treatment or something else is going to happen. Because we're not going to watch you die. And I went, whoa. And these are friends of mine.
Yeah.
So I still kind of resisted, but I said, I said, okay, all right, I'll go. Yeah, I knew I had to. So I did. I went to this 3-month treatment program back east it's for priests and religious specifically. Awesome program, beautiful, beautiful. I made great friends there, and just really learned, the basics of what I needed to learn. So at the end of that, there are a lot of us involved in this in my order
Yeah.
that are in recovery, and so they basically said to me, the most important thing to us is not getting you back to work, is getting you back to total health. So whatever that takes, you don't have to go to work, you don't have to do whatever it takes for you to get healthy again. That's what we are most concerned about. So, live where you want to live. We'll support you in that. Do what you have to do. We'll support you in that. So that's what's happened. So that's where I find myself.
And how long have you been sober now?
About 10 months.
How does it feel?
It feels great. It feels very new in many ways. It's been pretty smooth sailing for me, I would say, up until I'd say this last week, and things have been a little bumpy emotionally for me, but I didn't really know how to name it, and I was quiet, and I'm not quiet. And that it's not me, I'm not quiet. And they noticed here, and they were a little concerned, and so I have this great therapist who's an addiction specialist, and he knows about religious stuff, and I can talk about that with him. So I just described. He said, "Well, describe to me what it feels like." And so I did. He said, "Well, that has a name, And I said, "Well, what's it? What's the name?" He said, "It's called depression." So I said, "You know what? I used to say to people all the time, I don't understand how people say they're depressed. I'm never depressed." He said, "Yeah, you were." He said, "You just drank."
Yeah.
He said, "You were probably depressed all the time. You just didn't know it. Or you just covered it over. You knew it, but you just covered it over." So he said, "Now you just don't have that nice little covering anymore, and all these things are going to start coming up and bubbling up." I'm really happy that I can be really transparent up here with folks. And that's really new for me also, to be able to look somebody in the eye and say, I'm really having a really bad day today. I've worked a lot with people with AIDS in San Francisco for years, and during the worst of it, I've held a lot of people in my arms as they died. I ran this volunteer program, and we trained people to help people in their homes. So I always had a person I was taking care of myself. This one fellow said to me, and this guy had been a pretty well-known person in the community, let's say, in entertainment industry. And he said to me, he said, "This is the best thing that ever happened to me."
Yeah.
I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, this HIV is the best thing that's ever happened to me." He said, "Because it taught me about friendship and generosity and love, and rather than, aren't you great looking, and don't you have a lot of money, and don't you?" He said it really taught me about who my true friends were. He said I would never have known that. So I can pretty much say that as well.
Yeah.
This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Took a little while to show up, but better late than never, as you say. My name is Regan Chapman.
And we thank you so much, Regan.
You're welcome.